Anyone who knows what I do for a living and has seen any movies I've been in, they know that, I show up and get right into it. I roll up my sleeves and do whatever I can, and that's actually a lot. Everyone knows Jason Statham as the tough guy who does all his own stunts. But away from the cameras, there's a whole different side. In 2025, some medical papers came out that showed the real price he's paid for his crazy job. Broken ribs, head injuries, a wrist that broke and never fixed right. His wife Rosie lately told him straight up to stop doing some of the dangerous stuff. Why? Because the doctors said something that scared them both bad. The guy who survived almost drowning, getting stung by bees, and tons of fights is now facing his scariest enemy ever. And this time, he can't just punch his way out of it. He was born on July 26, 1967, in Shirebrook, Derbyshire, a little town that didn't give you big dreams, just hard jobs that wrecked your back and your spirit. Coal mining had shaped the place and messed up the lungs of the guys who worked down there. Jason Statham grew up in a world that was all about surviving, not being comfy. His dad, Barry Statham, was born in 1939 and lived through Britain's toughest winters and the worst pay. By the time Jason came along, Barry was doing any job he could find to bring in cash. Painting houses, working in the coal mines, selling stuff on the street, even singing in lounges in the Canary Islands when there was no work at home. He couldn't pick and choose. If it paid, he did it. Jason's mom, Eileen Yates, was a dancer who brought some music and energy into their rough working-class life. She performed in pubs and dark little clubs, singing under cheap lights while her husband was out hustling for money. Jason watched both sides growing up. He saw the hard grind, but also the stage lights, the dirt, but also the spark. Their family wasn't broken, it just never stopped moving. His brother Lee played guitar, Barry would sing, and Jason kept the beat on drums. It was like their own little family band that came from needing to get by, not from wanting fame. When he was 10, they left Shirebrook and moved to Great Yarmouth, a noisy seaside town full of market stalls and tourists. Barry started selling again, this time in open markets, hawking cheap stuff to people walking by. The work was quick, risky, and never stopped. Jason learned it all just by watching his dad. How to read people, when to push a sale, when to back off. He could have jumped in and done it full time, but he didn't. He picked something different. Martial arts. At 11, Jason threw himself into training. Karate, kickboxing, Chinese styles. He trained every single day, turning all that built-up stress into control. Later, he added Muay Thai, Judo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Krav Maga. He earned his black belt in karate and got really good at throws like seoi nage and holds like keisa gatame. The training kept him out of trouble. It made him sharp in a way most kids weren't. He wasn't just strong, he was exact. And being exact gave him real power. In school, he hung out with Vinnie Jones. They weren't stars yet, just tough kids with soccer boots. Jason played as a forward from 1978 to 1983. The soccer field taught him another kind of discipline. Working as a team, timing, planning. It wasn't only a game, it was another way to stay in control in a life that didn't give handouts. That mindset stuck with him in everything. When he was 12, Jason started diving. Not just splashing around, but the real professional kind. He trained with Britain's national diving team for 12 years, getting perfect at dives from the 1 meter, 3 meter, and 10 meter boards. In 1990, at 23, he competed for England at the Commonwealth Games in New Zealand. He came 8th in the 1 meter, 11th in the 3 meter, and 12th in the 10 meter platform. In one dive, he only scored 13.86 points. An English judge gave him a 0.5. It hurt. He didn't make the Olympics, and he knew the reason. He started too late. But even failing made him tougher. While he was training, he still worked part-time with his dad selling fake perfume and jewelry on the street. This wasn't some cute side gig. It was tough, non-stop survival. Standing outside in any weather, hoping somebody bought your stuff. When modeling jobs started coming, it felt like an escape. Between 1996 and 1997, he did ads for Tommy Hilfiger, Griffin, and Levi's. It looked cool, but the money was tiny, and it didn't lead anywhere big. Then everything flipped. Guy Ritchie was looking for actors for Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and he needed a guy who could play a real street hustler. Someone who didn't have to fake it, someone who'd actually sold stuff on the corner. Jason was perfect. He was the character. He got paid £5,000 to play Bacon. The movie blew up. 2 years later, he made $15,000 for Snatch. His career exploded, not because he took acting classes, but because he'd already lived that life. In 1990, Jason Statham was standing on a diving board in Auckland, representing England at the Commonwealth Games. He got 8th in the 1 meter and 11th in the 3 meter and 10 meter. No medals, but people noticed his body, his balance, the way he carried himself. That vibe got spotted by a scout at Crystal Palace in London. Soon after, in 1996, Tommy Hilfiger, Levi's, and Griffin were paying him £5,000 per shoot to pose instead of dive. The cash sounded nice, but in London it disappeared fast. Modeling picked him, he didn't pick it. And the gigs only came because he still looked like an athlete. By 1997, French Connection wanted someone rough, not a pretty model. Statham hot. That raw edge. His shaved head, strong jaw, and serious stare made him the guy for their FC UK campaign. The city was covered in posters of him glaring from walls and windows, but he was still only making about £10,000 a year. Enough to survive, not enough to get ahead. His face was everywhere, but his fridge was still half empty, so he kept hustling like his dad. On Oxford Street, he sold fake perfume and fake jewelry, using the same tricks he'd learned as a kid. Quick smile, fast talk, charm that made tourists drop their guard. Some days he made £200. That was eating money. But it wasn't safe. In 1996, he sold a fake Rolex to 2 guys who turned out to be undercover cops. He didn't freak out. He smiled, joked, talked his way out, and walked free. That close call taught him something. When things get hot, stay calm, talk smooth, own the situation. That cool attitude became his thing at every movie audition later. Before films, he did music videos. In 1993, the Shaman shot a wild rave video called Comin' On. Statham, shiny in leopard print briefs, danced under club lights in Brighton, totally free and wild. In 1994, Erasure did Run to the Sun, and he showed up half naked again, this time in a gold cage on the beach, moving like he belonged on camera, not in a pool. Nobody called him an actor yet, he was just a guy moving. But things were shifting. In 1997, Guy Ritchie wanted real street vibe. He didn't want fancy actors, he wanted someone who could sell you anything and make you buy it. Statham walked in with no resume, just hustle. Ritchie told him to sell fake stuff right there. He nailed it and got the part. Playing Bacon, the street-smart gambler in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, wasn't acting. It was just Jason being himself. He got paid £20,000. Not huge, but way better than perfume money. And it came with his name in the credits. The movie was pure chaos. Shot in real East End pubs with only an £800,000 budget, the actors made stuff up while real locals yelled in the background. Statham didn't have scripted lines, just goo. He smashed a car window with a shotgun in one scene that felt like real fights he'd avoided on the street. Nothing was pretend, not even being nervous. Ritchie loved the mess. It turned into magic. But after rapping, the producers almost cut Statham completely. They said his accent was too rough, too East End, not polished. Ritchie fought hard to keep his real voice. When Lock, Stock hit cinemas in August 1998, it made $3.9 million in the UK, and suddenly everyone knew that tough glare. 2 years later, Ritchie called again for Snatch. This time, Jason wasn't a side guy. He played Turkish, the boxing guy caught in gang fights and a diamond robbery. Budget was now $10 million. Statham had more lines, more stunts, more pain. He broke 2 ribs filming a fight in an old London gym. No stunt guy, no whining. Brad Pitt and Benicio del Toro were in it, and everything felt real. They filmed in dirty alleys and falling apart buildings. Every shot looked dragged through the mud. The movie made $83.6 million worldwide. That face that used to sell cheap perfume was now on giant posters everywhere. But backstage, things got heated. During 1999 reshoots, Statham made up a scary line to Del Toro's character. Del Toro thought it was real beef. They almost fought for real. Words got loud. Ritchie had to calm it down. That fight never hit the screen, but the tension made their scenes electric. Later, Statham said he went too far, but that's the edge he always lived on. Real, rough, dangerous. In 2002, Jason Statham started The Transporter, dead set on proving action stars don't need wires, computer effects, or doubles. One scene in a dirty bus garage changed the game. For 15 hard takes, he fought guys while covered in oil. It wasn't fake. He did every kick, every slip himself. His ribs hurt so bad afterward that breathing was painful. No camera tricks. Director Corey Ewan net him in martial arts for 2 whole months before filming started. And that training created one of the most famous fights ever. The oil scene didn't just look real, it was real. Taking risks like that wasn't just once. The car chases were crazier. With a $20 million budget and a keep it real rule, Statham signed a deal that said no stunt drivers. So when you see him flying backward through tiny, crowded streets in Marseille at almost 80 mph, that's actually him driving. No green screen, no closed road. They filmed in real rush hour traffic to stay safe from crashes. One wrong move and it would have been a wreck, but it worked. The movie made $43.5 million worldwide, and his tough guy legend started. 3 years later, Transporter 2 went even bigger. Statham climbed a 10-story building in Miami using only suction cups. No wires, no safety net. Halfway up, one cup failed. He fell 20 feet. His ankle got so messed up he was in the hospital a week. They used a double to finish, but the injury was done. He limped through fast scenes, refusing to quit. Director Louis Leterrier later said that stunt never should have happened without better safety. But it was Statham's choice, and it almost ended everything. Then the plane fight. In the big ending of Transporter 2, he fought inside a fake jet that moved with real G-forces. It was tight, wild, super hard to plan, but off-camera there was drama too. His co-star Shu Qi wouldn't do a kiss scene because of her culture. They had to rewrite it in the middle of shooting. Lines cut, new filming days. It could have ruined the movie, but they fixed it. It still made $85.1 million and kept the crazy energy. In 2008, Transporter 3 took him to Ukraine for one of his riskiest stunts ever. Handcuffed to a truck with a shoulder already out of place, he ran on rough roads, crashed into real stuff, no computer effects. Every hit felt whoa. Ours than the last. Critics hated how violent it was, but fans loved the real feel, and it made $108.5 million worldwide. Pain was just part of it. His shoulder took months to heal, but he never asked for a double. He just pushed on. That same year, he did The Bank Job, a heist movie based on a real 1971 bank robbery. While making it, they found out MI5 files about the real crime had just been unlocked. The papers showed the government hid dirty photos of a royal. Things got serious. MI5 watched the set, extra security everywhere. Suddenly, it felt more real than made up. It freaked people out, but got tons of news. Statham wasn't just acting a robber, he was telling a story the government wanted buried. That same fearless vibe showed in Death Race. Statham drove armored cars super fast, doing his own spins without gloves. His hands burned on hot metal. One scene had a guard's head cut off by a huge blade while Statham smashed into it full speed. The rating people almost banned it. They wanted cuts, but the team fought and kept the brutal scene. It made $75.8 million. Critics said it felt too real. His crew begged him to wear protection. He said no. He wanted it raw, even if it hurt. Then came war. Jet Li and Jason Statham fought with real swords in a super tight scene. One tiny mistake and Jet's sword cut Statham's arm open bad. Blood everywhere. 12 stitches. He should have stopped. Instead, he filmed another 12 hours. His shirt stuck to the cut. The director offered to pause. He said no. That scar's still there. And the story stuck too. Proof he wasn't pretending, he was living it. Danger followed him everywhere, even outside Transporter. In The Italian Job, he drove Mini Coopers through LA tunnels. They wrecked 32 cars and did over 200 takes. Then one car went underwater. Something broke and trapped Statham inside a flooded tunnel. The crew pulled him out just before he ran out of air. He later said it was the closest he ever came to dying on set. "I shouldn't have done it," he said. "Bisaway." He did. And in Crank, it got even crazier. He played a killer who had to stay pumped with adrenaline or die. So he ran on real LA freeways with no roadblocks, dodging actual cars on the 1 and 10. Cars crashed for real. Filming stopped. People sued. The crew paid drivers to shut up, but the shot stayed in. It was reckless, insane, unforgettable. The whole movie felt like that danger. When Jason Statham joined the Expendables in 2010 as knife expert Lee Christmas, he knew it'd be full of big egos, explosions, and old-school action. But he didn't expect to almost drown 3 years later. In 2013, shooting Expendables 3 in Bulgaria, the brakes died on a truck he was driving. It flew off a dock into the Black Sea. Trapped inside, sinking fast, tangled in his gear, Statham had seconds before passing out, but he slipped out a window and swam up. He called it a horrible moment that made him rethink stunts, but he didn't quit. He changed clothes and went right back to work. He lived because he was a pro diver from the Commonwealth Games days. That skill saved him. Sylvester Stallone said straight up, "Jason would have been done if he couldn't swim like that." The accident caused lawsuits and made everyone check safety harder. It wasn't the first time things got too real. In 2011 on The Mechanic, a movie about perfect kills, Statham wanted everything real. Budget hit $50 million partly because he said no to fake explosions. One real blast hurt a stunt guy bad. Another almost got Statham. The director said later it was Statham's idea to use real fire, which looked amazing but cost real pain. When the sequel came, stunts got even wilder, accidents too. In Fast Furious 6 in 2013, Statham showed up big as bad guy Deckard Shaw. One ending stunt had a car fly off a 260-foot ramp like a plane crash. Wind flipped the car wrong. Statham got bad whiplash and spent 2 weeks in hospital. He later said it was one of the most dangerous things ever, and the pain showed how little control you have sometimes. Then The Meg in 2018, a giant shark movie. One underwater cage stunt almost imda. The cage broke 45 feet down and trapped him. He was stuck 45 seconds but stayed calm, got free, and kept working. No double, no quitting. The $150 million movie made $530 million worldwide, one of the biggest shark films ever. Statham said the ocean scared him way more than fight scenes. Sharks don't listen. In Mechanic, Resurrection in 2016, he went further. The big scene has him climbing a huge building in Malaysia with no safety. In real life, he did it for real takes, no harness. He slipped, fell 30 feet onto concrete, got a concussion, stopped filming for days, had to change scenes. He kept going, but later quietly said tons of injuries got ignored on set. He said, "Stunt people risk their lives every day and nobody notices." After the awful Crow accident, people thought sets got safer. But on Statham's movies, risk was still normal. Not all danger was stunts. In 2015 on Spy, a funny movie poking fun at his tough image, the director Paul Feig changed the script last minute. Statham walked off set for a whole day. It shook the $65 million production. Crew said it was the only time they saw him really mad. He came back and gave one of his best, funniest performances, mixing dry humor with action. But it showed he hates when things go off plan. That same year, filming Hobbs, Shaw, and Samoa, he rode a bike at 100 mph for a chase, hit a hole, flew off, broke his wrist bad, didn't stop, didn't call a double, healed up and finished it. Crew said his no-faking attitude made everyone respect him and worry at the same time. In the 2010s, people started saying he was dumb for turning down serious acting jobs. He skipped auditioning for The Dark Knight and said he doesn't like soft roles. Some called it a mistake, but it worked. He built a brand worth $20 million a movie based on punches, scars, and ticket sales, not awards. He once said, "I'm not here to pretend to be someone else. I'm here to show what happens when a guy fights back." In 1997, before he was famous, he met model Kelly Brook on a shoot. They dated 7 years. He proposed in 2004. Weeks later, she ended it after pics with Billy Zane in France. Statham was heartbroken. Friends said he felt totally humiliated. Brook later said maybe they'd have lasted without cameras everywhere. He only talked about it once, saying he felt like a cuckold. It hurt deep. Then he dated model Sophie Dahl for 6 months in 2005. She said his gym obsession and filming made him distant. By August 2006, it was over. She said the spark was real but no future. He met Rosie Huntington-Whiteley in 2010. They went public quick, but in 2011 they broke up after a fight at the Transformers premiere. They got back together, but almost split again during a scary paparazzi car chase in LA. Rosie said that's when they saw fame could actually kill you. They stayed together. In 2017, they had a son, Jack Oscar. Rosie gave birth at home in LA. Statham was shooting Meg 2 in 2020 and gone for months. Rosie said the distance almost ended them. They did couples therapy. It worked. She said they learned to protect each other from fame and from themselves. In 2022, they bought a $14 million house in Beverly Hills. By 2023, drones were flying over their yard. One got inches from a window. Rosie said that's when she started begging him to cut back on stunts. Statham once threw a shoe at a drone. Didn't help. The spying kept happening. In January 2024, The Beekeeper came out quiet and then exploded. On a $40 million budget, it made $162 million. Statham played a retired killer going after scammers. He's actually allergic to bees but did every scene himself, kept EpiPens ready, and had small reactions on set, never used a double. He said dealing with real bees was scarier than anything else. They greenlit a sequel the same year, or in 2025 he starred in A Working Man directed by David Ayer. It topped the MGM Plus charts. Behind the scenes, Statham taught 12 young stunt guys, showed them safety rules, and made sure doctors were on set. He'd been in hospital 3 days in 2023 on another job and didn't want anyone else hurt. Studios started copying him. By 2025, his movies had made over $8.5 billion total. The Meg made $530 million. Hobbs Shaw made $760 million. The Expendables series passed $1.2 billion, but his biggest regret wasn't money. In 2006, he skipped trying for James Bond. The studio said 39 was too old. In 2024, on a podcast, he said he should have fought harder. That no made him create his own kind of hero. In 2020, he gave £1 million to UK diving programs. He said diving kept him out of trouble as a teen and gave him direction. By 2022, his money funded over 200 scholarships. In 2025, fake death stories said he drowned in a Texas flood or died in a car crash. All lies. He was chilling in Italy posting vacation pics while fake obituaries went viral. It became a running joke, but also showed people never stop watching, even when they should leave you alone. In 2025, he finished Levon's Trade, written by Sylvester Stallone from a Chuck Dixon book. It comes out January 17, 2025. Statham plays Levon Cade, a quiet ex-Special Forces guy pulled back into fighting. It's darker, less flashy, more personal. It's supposed to change how people see him again,